Hi, my name is Jeff Gabriel. I am the co-founder and CEO of Saw.com. We are the leading domain brokerage on the net. We're always writing fresh content to help viewers like yourself understand and love the same industry that all of those that work with me at Saw.com have grown to love. And I've made a list of a lot of the questions, and I want to answer each of these questions in 30 seconds or less. One of the questions I was actually asked at a domain conference quite a while ago, but it's kind of stuck with me, is somebody asked me, what's the hardest domain to try to sell? And the thing is that I think they were asking me, like, what industry is the hardest to sell to? And I was kind of taking it as someone from my end of the table as a different way of thinking, is I'm thinking about, like, what's the hardest situation you can get yourself into selling? So it's really two things for a domain broker it's really hard for us to do. Is number one, when you're given a domain that has been on the market for a while and with another domain broker. And when we're handed that opportunity, we look at it and say, all right, this is a good domain. And then the seller says, well, what can you sell it for? And then let's say I say that the value of the domain name is $150,000 or $200,000. And they go, okay, I'm willing to sign with you. So then you send them over the agreements, you get started, you start researching the domain, the industry, and you start trying to sell it. And then you start to find out that the broker prior to you that was working with it was trying to sell it for less than what you were selling it for. So the problem is it becomes very hard to try to sell the domain when you are trying to sell it for higher to probably a lot of the same people, not all, for a higher price. So that ruins the credibility of you as the broker, and it also ruins the credibility of the asset that you're trying to push, because it looks like whomever's trying to sell this is not a very upstanding person. And in one of my last questions or things that it was asked about was the history. I talked about the history of the domain name. Well, if the seller is not an upstanding person, when they were the owner and they used the domain, they probably didn't do very ethical things with the domain either, which raises a lot of red flags and creates issues, which causes bad offers. And when bad offers come and the feeling of desperation comes over the phone or over email or however it's being positioned to buyers, you're going to get nothing but bad offers, and that's a really hard domain to sell. When I was given the opportunity to sell sex.com, a number of years ago, which I ended up selling for $13 million, calling adult businesses was actually very hard because a lot of the people who work for these businesses say they either work for advertising agencies or when you call in and you try to go through the catalog of names that work there, all of the names are fake. Because obviously when they go to their children's soccer games, they don't want publicly people to know that they're an executive in an adult business. And a lot of those adult businesses have a front or the name of a business that is public facing. So, I'm just making this up, but, adult pictures. And then behind it, it's owned by, like J2 Advertising. And so people will say, I'm at work for J2 Advertising. Well, it's very hard for you as a domain broker to go through and figure out what's the difference between J2 Advertising and, C3 Advertising, where C3 focuses on totally different ads and J2 is really just the adult business. So getting in there, finding people that are very public facing when it comes to the adult business is very hard to do to get the right audiences and the right decision makers to make the sales.